Mental loops feel like thinking, but they are not actually leading anywhere. They are repetitive patterns that return to the same point, even when it feels like you are making progress. You go over the same situation again and again, looking at it from slightly different angles. You analyze it, question it, and try to understand it more clearly. But despite all of that effort, nothing really changes. Because the loop is not designed to resolve itself. It is designed to continue. That is what makes it so convincing. It feels like you are working towards an answer, but in reality, you are reinforcing the same pattern of thought. And the more time you spend inside that pattern, the more familiar it becomes, the more automatic it becomes, until it starts to run without any conscious input. This is where the problem shifts. It is no longer just a thought. It becomes a loop that controls your attention. And once your attention is controlled, your behavior follows. You lose focus on what you are doing. You become mentally pulled into something that is not moving forward. And over time, that creates fatigue. Not because you are doing more, but because your mind is constantly active without resolution. This is why mental loops feel exhausting. They consume energy without producing outcome. Most people respond to this by trying to think their way out. They try to solve the thought, find clarity, reach some kind of conclusion that will make it stop. But this approach feeds the loop, because the loop itself is built from continuous thinking. So adding more thinking does not break it. It strengthens it. The more you engage, the longer it runs. So the goal is not to solve the loop, it is to interrupt it. That shift is important, because it changes what you are trying to do. Instead of searching for an answer, you are creating distance. And that starts with awareness. Noticing when your attention has been pulled into the loop. Not after it has already taken over, but while it is happening. That moment of recognition creates separation. You are no longer fully inside the thought. You are observing it as it happens. That is the first level of control. The next step is to stop engaging with it, not trying to complete the thought, not trying to resolve it, and not adding more analysis on top, just allowing it to be there without following it further. This is where it becomes uncomfortable, because your mind is used to finishing the pattern. It wants closure. It wants resolution. But mental loops do not resolve through thinking. They weaken when you stop participating in them. That is what breaks the cycle. The final step is redirection. You deliberately move your attention somewhere else, not randomly, but intentionally. Back to your task, back to your environment, or towards something that requires focus to continue. Because a loop depends on attention to survive. Without attention, it cannot continue in the same way. It loses momentum, and eventually it fades. This is why distraction can sometimes work in the short term. But if there is no awareness, the loop returns as soon as the distraction ends. So the real skill is not avoiding the loop. It is recognizing it and choosing not to continue it. That is what builds control over time. Each time you notice the loop and step out of it, you weaken the automatic pattern and strengthen your ability to direct your attention. Over time, something changes. The loops still appear, but they do not last as long. They do not pull you as deeply, and they do not control your behavior in the same way. Not because your mind is silent, but because you are no longer feeding the pattern automatically. That is the shift. You move from being inside the loop to observing it, and then stepping out of it. And once that becomes consistent, you can break it.